Hey guys, what is up? Today we have a 1988 YZ250 and we're going to be going through and rebuilding and restoring the entire thing. As you can see, it's in really rough shape right now. Clutch cable's seized up, bars are rough, grips are rough, levers are shot, brakes are worn out. This exhaust pipe is all patched up, really rough looking. We've got JB Weld on the case here. This engine does run, but I'll be going through it, all of it, and checking it over, make sure it's rebuilt well and it's good to go. Chain's super worn out. If you look at the sprocket, it's all pitched forward. You see all that play there. The rear wheel has some play in it. This shock will need rebuilt. It's just springy right now. The bushings are shot. On this side, we have FMF exhaust here, silencer. It's missing a side fairing. Brakes as well. They're completely shot and they're down to the brake caliper. So yeah, there's going to be going through the whole bike and making sure it's good to go. So I've gotten down this far, and as you can tell, it is super rough. I mean, this airbox side was cut off. This is all messy up in there. I mean, everywhere you look, there's just something that's very rough. But it looks like there's good foundation as far as the parts go. They'll clean up well. Like the swing arm's in pretty good shape. The rims look like they're clean and feel like they're pretty solid still. Rotors should be able to get used. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you can look at these brakes and steering stem, all these different parts that are in really rough shape. Alright, so I've got the bike torn down to the frame, just besides this one linkage here. This is seized on there, so I have to work on taking that off. Got the whole bike laid out over here in parts. It's not the most organized right now, but that's okay. Got the motor over here. We'll be turning to that next, making sure we have all the parts to rebuild this thing since it's a 1988. We want to make sure that the motor can be completely rebuilt well first before moving on to the other stuff. Got a few more parts over here. Got the swing arm. There's still some of the linkages attached. Suspension wheels. So yeah, we're going to start with going through the motor. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and tear into this engine. Hopefully it's not in too rough a shape, but we'll see. It's almost 40 years old. There's some JB Weld stuff here going on. Looks like there's a small hole up here and maybe a scuff line there. It looks like the chain snapped at one point and caused that damage. but it doesn't look like it's been rebuilt in a long time. These gaskets look filthy and very old, so we'll see what we find, but yeah. So here are the reeds. They appear to be in pretty good shape. I'm not sure what kind of reeds these are. I was looking up through the light, but I can't see really any gaps. Looks pretty good. Here's the dome. Really doesn't look bad either. There's really no pitting or detonation. There's very ever so slight amount up here, but typically that's, you know, that's normal. Just mostly carbon buildup, but looks good. I don't really see any damage there. Ooh, that looks fun. Looks like the power valve arm is unhooked, I believe. I haven't really worked on these particular style power valves yet, so it's a little bit new to me. I'll kind of be learning how this setup works, but they do rotate. That's a good sign, but they do feel a little stiff. So I'm guessing that'll all need cleaned up. They might be getting locked up because they should rotate freely. I don't feel it rotating. All right, I'll take this bolt off here. So we're gonna take the arm off. So far all these components look to be in good shape. It doesn't look like there's any wear going on, or excessive wear at least. So that looks to be pretty good. Oh, there's also a retainer plate. So I can push this out. All right, we've got it apart here. Looks like we had a collar fall out. First impression, there's a lot of scoring in the cylinder. There is some scuffing up on the piston here, but we'll have to check, see how worn this is, and also see if this is maybe an oversized piston, if it's already been, you know, for how old it is, that could easily be a different piston. So check our crank here, and to me it feels tight. I don't feel any wobble whatsoever, so that's a good sign. Almost no oil in it. That's a bad sign. And this bolt was just forced in there. If you're wondering what size flywheel that is, it's a M27 by 1 left-hand thread. Yeah. Ooh, that's not good. So I found a problem. Looks like the shaft for the water pump is stripped out, and looks like this is supposed to have a nut or have some way to thread on to that, but it looks like this thread is messed up. There we go. Got the spring and our collar here. Alright, so I'm trying to figure out how to get this clutch basket off, and I think what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to try and hold the output shaft. I'm going to put the sprocket back on there with the nut, and see if I can hold the nut with some pliers or something while I try to take this loose, since right now it's connected together. Otherwise, we'll have to use a special tool or something. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a try first and see if we can get it off here. So I'm going to put this nut back on, and so we have something to hold on to. I don't know if this adjustable wrench is big enough. We'll see if it'll fit on here. Not quite. I'll have to get something a little bigger. This larger adjustable wrench should work, so we can hold that on there, and we'll have to see which direction this clutch needs to spin in order to come off. It should be a standard right hand thread, so we need to lock the transmission into gear, so that way it's tied together here. Alright. So for us to loosen this, looks like they are spinning opposite directions, so we should be able to loosen this as this side tightens, and hopefully that'll get the clutch off here. Let's see if I can get this wrench on there properly. Alright, so as I turn this left, it's starting to tighten the other side. So let's see if we can get this tight. So now it's locked in. So I'm going to try to hold this down, hit this with the impact, and hopefully everything stays in place. We got it. Now there's definitely better ways to do this, but considering what I have for tools, that ended up working and we didn't cause any damage, so it should work. And we're going to take off this damaged clutch basket. As you can see, don't forget there's a washer and some needle bearings behind there. Looks like this basket broke off. So we're going to replace this clutch basket, and hopefully we can find one that's in good shape used, since they obviously don't make them for this age anymore. So the next thing, we can pull out this Kickstarter gear. pretty straightforward. Looks like we can pull our shift shaft here. Should just be one piece. There's a little spring mechanism on there, which allows this to spring left or right. All right, looks like we have some more stuff attached to the crank here. I'm gonna try to use the clutch basket as a tool to hold that gear in place. So we're gonna put this back on here, and hopefully we can put something in between to hold that nut in place. Now they do make special gear tools that you can fit in here to hold your gears. That's a much better way to do this. I apologize for doing things this way. It's not the best method, but it does work. You can put a rag and a flathead in there, and that should hold it in place to get this off. Looks like it's a 22 millimeter. You definitely want to be careful when using impact tools because things can get thrown around. I'm just going to hold on to the screwdriver and take that nut off. It went pretty easy. No damage there either. I'm going to put this clutch basket back together. Take that back off. Moving back to this side, we have one more gear. It's got a snap ring on it. It looks like the snap ring is slightly damaged. It's already been spread far and it's out of its groove a little bit. So we'll probably end up having to replace these. We're just gonna take this gear off and its spacers. Make sure there's another spacer behind that. Gonna set all these together as well. And it looks like that is everything on this side of the case. All right, so we're ready to split the cases. We're gonna go ahead and take all these cover bolts out and see if we can split these things. And when you're splitting cases, you want to just double check everything, look around the motor real well, and make sure that there's no extra bolts before you try to separate them. So I'm just gonna look around. Sometimes they hide a few on the opposite side. So you just want to give it a good look over and make sure that there's nothing hiding. And I think this engine looks good. Alright, so I'm going to set this case up on blocks here. I'm going to put the right side down. Just like that. I'll probably use two blocks on both sides here. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and start just tapping this with a mallet first, and then if not, maybe with a hammer in certain places to see if we can start to separate these. I can already see the sealant starting to split. You can kind of watch the split line. It looks like this is a hot rods crank, so somebody has gone in and replaced this. So from what I can tell, it feels like it's in really good shape, so that's a good sign. And if you can help it, try not to use excessive force. You can use case splitters, but really if it comes up by hand, that's the best case scenario. Might even tap the crank just a little bit to see if that helps loosen it up. Now, if you decide to pry anywhere between the cases, you want to be real careful and not scrape it up, and also pry maybe where the bolts go. Just be real gentle. It feels like it is coming. I feel like the crankshaft is attached to this side right now. So we might end up pulling the crank out. But there it is. Got the cases apart. Right off the bat, everything looks pretty good. I don't see any metal shavings or bits in here. So I'm just gonna go through and inspect everything and make sure that you know, it's all in good shape, and we'll go from there. So far looks okay. I'm gonna go ahead and take these shift forks out. So we've got one on this left side, and then we've got two on the right. Looks like this shift drum will pop right out. I'll take this last shift fork out. So the right side shift fork has a 1 on top, and then the 2 with some writing and a -3 there. That's how they go. Alright, and the last thing to remove is the transmission. So we're gonna just try to pick this up in one piece here, if possible. See if I can push up from the back. See if we can keep these from falling apart. All right, and just make sure you get all your washers off if there's any washers. All right, guys, so we've got the entire engine torn down. I'm gonna go ahead and look through everything and see what we need to replace. I know for sure we need to replace this clutch basket with the 2 fins broken off. We're also going to need to replace the cooling pump shaft. This is it here. You can see it's stripped off threads there, and this is the pump piece that no longer threads onto it, so we'll need to find a replacement for that. Crank bearings look good. I'll look into those further and decide what I want to do later. This bearing has some bubbling going on the sealing surface, so I might consider replacing that bearing. Transmission looks pretty good. Shift drum looks good. Probably we'll see about a set of shift forks. I'm not entirely sure yet. There is some wear on those. As far as the cylinder goes, not quite sure yet. This year range is I think it's a cast iron sleeve. They can be bored, so we'll decide whether or not it needs just a hone or if it'll need bored also. We'll probably end up getting this bored and putting a new piston in it as well. Piston has some wear here. It's starting to get scarred up on the edges, so we'll probably end up boring and replacing the piston. I think that'd obviously be the best thing to do, but that's it for this video. We'll see you guys next time as I continue this whole restoration.